This is how I would start investing from the beginning if I absolutely had to. For context, I have been coaching the mastery of finances, personal finances, investing for almost 5 years, and alhamdulillah, my strategies have allowed me to completely retire from my main career as a dentist and leave the West and move to a beautiful Muslim country where I am surrounded by the environment and the culture that I want for myself and for my family. And through these strategies, I have been able to help almost 200 incredibly competent, amazing professionals get started on their journey to becoming work optional as well. And just through our private clients and our community, alhamdulillah, we have been able to invest just approximately $2 million over the last couple of years into some amazing halal Sharia compliant investments. On top of that, over the last few years, I have written several articles for some prominent magazines in the dental industry, and I have been able to consult with many high net worth individuals and discuss strategies to build wealth completely halal, 100% Sharia compliant. Alhamdulillah, the average of our clients will build a 6-figure investment portfolio within the space of 5 years or so, or even less. And an amazing testimonial that we have had over the last few weeks is one of our clients who started with us 4 years ago has been able to pay off his share of his dental surgery that he bought from the investments that he made with us and everything that he learned as one of our clients, alhamdulillah. So alhamdulillah, I think it's fair to say that I've got a few things to share and provide value about being able to invest without riba and build completely 100% Sharia compliant financial systems that build you and help you achieve that goal of becoming work optional as soon as physically possible. So without further ado, if I absolutely had to go back and start from scratch and achieve what I've achieved so far, I would do exactly the following things. The first is that you need to be tracking every single pound that enters your financial system. And you need to be tracking every single pound that leaves your financial system. Okay, and what that means is that every single pound that you are making and every single pound that you are spending, you need to be tracking. You need to know exactly what's happening within your financial ecosystem, within your bank account, what money is coming in from your main career, exactly how much it is every single month, and you need to be tracking what is going out. This is one of the only ways that you can have proper financial structuring, because without this, you are not going to know what is happening. You are going to have no context with what is happening with your financial systems and your current financial position in life. And this is one of the most important things that I would say to individuals. And sometimes I get individuals, clients who join us who are making 6 figures or multiple 6 figures, and they feel that, oh, you know, I'm in a financial position where I don't really need to track my expenses. I can just spend. And I understand, but it is never an excuse to just be lazy and not track your expenses. It's absolutely vital that you don't take this and be passive or complacent with tracking your expenditure. Even if you are in a really good financial position, meaning you are making $20,000, £20,000 or £25,000 a month, which some of our clients are, it does not give you an excuse not to track your expenditure, because there's always a benefit. If you can track what you can save, then that just means there's an extra amount of money there that you can invest. And every single £100 or £200 that you are able to save and invest instead of wasting will cut off years from you achieving your financial goals. That can be the difference between you retiring at 40, 45 years old or 60 years old. Legitimately, this is what we have seen within our base of clients. On top of that, you need to have an emergency fund. You need to be financially secure enough. You need to be financially resilient that if something crazy happens, like you lose your job, that you are going to have a runway to be able to protect yourself and give you that mental space to be able to recover. For example, if you're a dentist and you lose your job, hopefully it's not going to be the end of the world, because it is an associates market and you should be able to find another job without too much difficulty. But you need to have that financial safety net, the emergency fund there, so that you've got a runway to protect yourself that covers you, so that you can start applying for other jobs, you can interview, and then you can start working. Because even if once you start another job, it's going to take a little bit of time before you're actually able to start making money again. It's absolutely non-negotiable to have that financial resilience, that planning in place to protect yourself and make it easy for yourself in the worst case scenario that you lose your source of income and you have to apply or something else. Number two is that once you have structured your finances, you know exactly what's coming in, you know exactly what's going out, you have optimized your expenditure as much as physically possible whilst being reasonable, while not squeezing yourself too tightly. Because remember, yes, you need to be financially minimal, but you also, it needs to be sustainable. You can't just squeeze yourself and then, only be able to maintain that for a few months, and then after a few months you're splurging again. That's not sustainable. You need to create a financial structure and expenditure that is sustainable. Once you have done that, then I would personally encourage, for example, what I would do is I would be investing almost everything on top of my necessary expenditure. After I've given myself whatever I need for my necessary expenditure and I've given myself a little bit of pocket money, then almost everything on top of that, it doesn't make sense to save it and leave it in savings, because hopefully by this point you know that inflation is going to be eating away at every single pound that you have lying around in a savings account that is not invested. So it only makes sense, once you paid off your expenses, your bills, once you've got your safety net in place, you should be investing everything on top of that. And this is one of the mistakes that I see so many dentists, so many high income professionals making, is that they are making really good money, but they're leaving it all in a savings account. And if you're not investing it, it is going to get eaten away categorically. I'm not telling you to put yourself in a difficult financial position and just invest everything that you're making. No, you need to pay off your expenses. You need to give yourself a little bit of pocket money to enjoy, treat yourself. You need to put in place financial resilience structures so that you are protected in the worst case scenario, and then everything on top of that, then you invest it. And if you do that, I can tell you almost categorically you will be in a position within 5, 10, 15 years where you are able to slowly start moving away from your main vocation, if that's what you want to do. And number three is one of the most important subjects that we teach our clients, is move away from being a civilian investor. So a civilian investor who approaches the financial markets without any understanding, who approaches the financial markets without taking any accountability, who lives their life as a victim of circumstance, who never takes accountability for anything that happens in their life. Move away from that. Stop being a civilian and start taking accountability for what happens in your life and with your finances. And what is associated with that is understanding risk and diversification. When you are investing, you need to understand the different risk levels of the investments that you are going to be faced with. Risk is on a spectrum and risk is real. And what I mean by that is, if someone is presenting you with a high risk investment, that means that on one hand, yes, you might be able to make a lot of money from that investment, but on the other hand, there is a very real risk that you will lose everything that you have put into that investment, okay? That is 100% true for high risk investments. So for high risk investments, first of all, you need to know what constitutes a high risk investment. And then you need to understand that if I invest into this high risk investment, it should only be a very small percentage of my portfolio. Diversification, okay? So if you're going to invest into high risk investments, it should only be a small percentage of your entire portfolio. And because you're investing into something that is high risk, that risk, it means that you are potentially going to lose all of that money that you put into that high risk investment. Understand that categorically, understand that risk is real, understand that you can lose money in the investment markets. It's very real. If you do a huge amount of due diligence, if you have diversified your portfolio really, really well, then you will protect yourself from a huge amount of that risk. But that risk is real and you need to be aware of that. Do not go near high risk investments that you don't understand and that you are not prepared for. And these three things are what I would call the core principles of what will make you an incredible, competent investor. Now, the difference between a competent investor and a civilian investor is someone who is able to consistently make profits from their investments over the long term. They're not constantly exposing themselves to high risk. They're not constantly exposing themselves to losing money. They're not doing stupid things. They're just putting into place consistent financial structures, and they're just being consistent. Consistency over and over again without doing anything stupid. And that is the main difference between a competent investor who's going to make a lot of money, who's going to be able to achieve that goal of cutting down from their main career and focusing on their family, focusing on their things that they value in life, focusing on their deen, focusing on hijrah, things like that, and a civilian investor who will constantly be caught in this vicious cycle of investing into stupid things, making stupid financial decisions, losing money, and then just trying something else, and then never finding something that works. If you work to implement the 3 things that I've mentioned in this video, then you will achieve those goals that you have in place for yourself, inshallah ta'ala. But doing this alone is infinitely easier said than done. And the reason why most civilian investors will never achieve their financial goals is, first of all, because they don't have a system. They don't have a structure to how they're approaching the investment markets. They're just going to chase trends. They're just going to invest into things that their friends have told them about, or their auntie's dog has told them about, that they don't have any real understanding of. So without a structure, you're not going to make any money. You're just going to get caught in that vicious cycle of losing money over and over again. And secondly, they're going to make emotional decisions. I would say 90% of what makes a competent investor different from a civilian investor is not chasing emotions, not following your emotions. Your emotions, when applied to the investment markets, are going to make you lose money. Because without guidance or accountability, fear and stupid decisions are going to take over your thought process. You're going to get greedy, you're going to panic sell when you should have held on to your money. Or you're going to get caught up in analysis paralysis, and you're going to be frozen when an opportunity approaches, a really good opportunity, and you're not going to be able to take advantage of it. And lastly, a problem that I'm starting to realize is massive in our society is 6-figure Muslim professionals are making very good money, but they don't know how to invest in a way that is 100% halal. First of all, they might not realize that it's possible. They might think that it's impossible to invest halal, when in actual fact, it is absolutely possible. And secondly, if they think it's possible, they just don't know how to. They don't know what factors to take into account when trying to look at investments and assess, is this halal, is this not halal? So with everything that I've given you, you really have 2 options, all right? First option is absolutely you can do it yourself, okay? It's going to take a long time. There's going to be a lot of mistakes that you're going to make. You're probably going to lose a lot of money. For average, I would say from our clients that the money that they lose trying to do this themselves is approximately 20 to 30,000 pounds trying to do this themselves. But it is possible. It's very, very difficult. As I said, it's going to take a lot longer. You're going to lose a lot of money in the process, but it is possible. I'm not going to lie to you and say that it's not possible, because it's exactly what I did. But I took the long route. I wish I had a mentor back then when I was learning how to invest. And if I had a mentor, they would have cut the time down for me to achieve my financial goals by an infinite amount. And that is option number 2. You can approach this sensibly with a mentor, from someone who has done this the difficult way and knows all of the mistakes and is going to prevent you from making all of those mistakes. And in the real world, that is going to fast track you to success, to achieving your financial goals, to becoming work optional, to leaving the West if that's one of the goals that you have for yourself. Now, if you want to pick option number 1, then we have a free private community for you where we are sharing free resources, free videos on how to achieve this over the long term. It's going to be slow. As I said, I'm going to do my best to minimize the losses that you're going to make, but without a formal, structured accountability and mentorship, it's just going to take a long time for you, and that's fine. But we have that free private community for you. On the other hand, if you want to pick number 2, the first stage is to attend and register for our live training. So the link is down below for that. If you want to attend our live training, I'm going to give you, again, a little bit of a teaser on some of the aspects, some of the most important things that you need to understand before you get involved in the financial markets. And at the end of that free training, I'm going to give you an opportunity to potentially work with us. It's only for serious individuals. It's only for individuals who are rapidly approaching the 6-figure annual salary amount, or for those who are already making 6 figures a year. It's only for those. It's only if you are serious. It's only if you are motivated. If you are all of those things, then the link is below. Inshallah, I will speak to you very, very soon on the next video. Assalamu alaikum.